Hey guys, today we are in Hebrews chapter 11. Now, chapter 11 starts a new section. 11, 12, and 13, the very last section of this book, is really just about great examples to follow. Remember, these Hebrew Christians who are not spiritually mature, who are questioning their faithfulness. And so the writer is writing this whole book for them to basically to remain faithful because Jesus is greater. And so he finishes the book with examples, with reasons to be faithful, to remain faithful. So when we start in chapter 11, this is actually going to be a short one. Just for the simple fact is you don't need me to explain this one. But what's interesting is if after you've read this and you go back and look, you're going to see the word faith a whole bunch, right? The word faith. And for us, that's a normal Christian church word. But remember, these are Jewish Christians, they're Hebrew Christians. And so to be of faith is not the norm. It is not the way of salvation, even though they are Christians and they have showed a part of faith, but yet they are lacking in faith. They're lacking in faithfulness to God. And so that's why we start this section with chapter 11. Now, faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the convictions of things not seen. We kind of, here we get a definition. Just in the physical world, our eyes allow us to see things in the physical world. In the spiritual world, it's our faith that allows us to see things. So you can only see God working by faith in the spiritual world. And that's what it means. Now, faith is the assurance of things hoped for. By faith, you can see God moving. For by it, the people of old, the Old Testament saints, the people who have died before these Jewish Christians received their condemnation. By faith, we understand that the universe was created by the word of God, so what is seen was not made out of things that are visible. The word of God is invisible, right? The spoken words of God. That's how things were created. So therefore, that's how we know things. Things are not made on the visible realm, but by faith in the invisible realm. And then we will, for most part of this book, we see a few words, by faith. I went through and I circled every time those words were said, by faith. And then it would give us an example, an Old Testament example. Remember, these are to Jewish Christians. And so here, the writers of Hebrew is showing them that these very important Old Testament saints were saved by faith, but they also had faith and remained in faith to God. That's the most important thing. That's what these Christians, these Hebrew Christians, needed to hear. And so it says, by faith Abel, by faith Enoch, by faith Noah, by faith Abraham, by faith Isaac, by faith Jacob, by faith Joseph. It goes on and says, by faith Moses, by faith the people of Israel, by faith the walls of Jericho, by faith Rahab, and then through faith the people of Israel once again. So throughout this whole chapter, the writer is giving example and example and example over and over again of Jewish people, of Hebrews who remain faithful and by faith were saved, even though they did not get to experience the Messiah, the promised. And so we can see that. I want to point that out here. At the very end, verse 39, right? So through this, like I said, if you read through this, it just talks about all the Old Testament saints, and we don't have enough time to even go through all of these. But just notice these Old Testament people were saved by faith, and they remained in faithfulness towards God. So they had faith and they had obedience, right? They had these two things. But notice verse 39, and all these examples, Noah, Abraham, Enoch, Israel, Rahab, Isaac, Jacob, right? All of these people, right? All of these, though commended through their faith, did not receive what was promised. All of these people were saved by faith in the promise, in the expectation of the Messiah coming. They all died before the Messiah came, right? So they had faith in the invisible. They had hope in the invisible. They kept their faith for the invisible, right? For the Jesus that did not come in their lifetime, right? They did not receive what was promised, the Messiah. Verse 40, since God had provided something better for us, that apart from us, they should not be made perfect. For us and for the readers, the Hebrew Christian readers, he's saying, but you know the Messiah. You've seen the Messiah. You've heard from the Messiah. You've heard from people from the Messiah. You have the words of Jesus. You have the complete idea. Your ancestors believed in faith of what was to come. But you have seen what has come. You know Jesus. You know the Messiah. So there is something better for us. If they had faith in the unseen, how much more faith should we have that we have the seen? We have the Messiah that has come for us. And that's really what the point of chapter 11 is about. That faith is what brings salvation. And faithfulness comes even though they did not get to experience what God's promise was. But for these Jewish Christians and for us today, we know Jesus. We have the words of Jesus. We have the words of people who walked and were taught with Jesus, right? So how much more should we have faith? How much more should we have obedience in the Messiah that has come and that has promised everything to us? It is by faith that we are saved. Remain faithful. That's what chapter 11 is about. We will see you on Monday in chapter 12. God bless.